Hello and welcome to Before the Returns. This is a little bonus episode that I wanted to record to tell a more personal and real story for a moment. I want to tell a story about a failure that I recently had that taught me a few good lessons. And you'll notice I don't have my laptop with me this time because this is just really meant to be a very simple episode. So I'm going to tell the story, get into the failure, what led up to it, and what the outcome has been up to this point. And really, in a way, I'm still even kind of in the middle of the failure. So there might be follow up episodes to this. But I think that, or I hope that this episode can bring some value to other individuals, other investors out trying to do the same things that I've been trying to do. For some backstory, I bought two duplexes that are next door to each other just earlier this year. So we haven't had them for a super long time, and there's been quite a bit of work that has gone into them. So I didn't buy these by myself. I have an investor in them, potentially even maybe adding one more investor at some point. But I am running and managing that deal because the deal is about 5 minutes from my personal residence. As is my nature, I tend to I like to be fairly involved in the things that I'm doing. I like to understand things really well. I'm fairly analytical about things and I dive into things pretty in depth. And I've, over the years, even growing up, I did some real estate projects. I was involved in different rehabs and things. My father was an electrician, and so I wired homes with him and really got to understand real estate on a fairly deep level. So on this particular project, I also wanted to be involved. And I've spent time going over and I've worked on different parts of the home myself. Because right now, what we are doing is out of the 4 units, 3 of them are currently rented, but one of them, the tenant moved out shortly after we purchased it, which had the purchase was not a trigger for that. They were already planning on it. But when they moved out, the intent was, okay, we're going to rehab this. And it had an unfinished basement. So we're going to finish that basement. Now we'll have 2 levels that are livable. So it doubles the size of the living space. And here in Utah, that's a very common thing. Most basements here are finished and used as additional living space. So going from a 2 bedroom to a 4 bedroom, a 1 bathroom to a 2 bathroom. And so there's quite a bit of work that's gone into this. Now, what I did that caused a problem was I went over while we are working on the basements and we had to move some floor drains around. So we had to cut out concrete, move the drains, and then put new concrete in. And then I also had to level the floors before we could do the framing and get ready for sheetrock and get ready for all the electrical and the plumbing and all the things that go into it. When I went over to do this, because I decided I was going to do this part myself, I went and I poured the concrete. So I filled in all the holes, got it all ready to go, which the concrete worked out just fine. Now, what happened was after the concrete cured, I needed to do the floor leveler, and we had to get rid of one of the floor drains to do this. What I did is get the floor leveler, and I intended on just plugging the floor drain and then putting the floor leveler over it. This is something I talked with the couple of plumbers locally about and made sure that was a normal thing. And so got the go ahead by everybody to do it that way. We do everything above board, everything is permitted. We have inspections, all of that. And I wanted to make sure it was done correctly. But what I overlooked is when I tried to plug the floor drain, I didn't do a very good job of that. And I poured the floor leveler and quite a bit of it, I'm not really sure how much, but quite a bit of it went right down the drain and dried in the main sewer line of the property. Now, this turned into a very costly mistake. The following week, I ended up having a couple different plumbers out there. Multiple different machines were put down the main sewer line. And the solution ended up being I had to dig a 10-foot deep hole in the front yard of this property, cut a hole in the sewer line, and then they stuck a special machine in there that was able to cut out all of that floor leveler that had dried. So we had to pull all of it out and then patch up the sewer line, bury the hole, had another camera inspection go through and just check that everything was good and cleared out properly. And then we went on our way. But this was multiple thousands of dollars. And because I have investors in this project, this became a personal expense for me. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that it has to be that way, but I really believe that's the right way to do it. If you're going to cause a problem, you shouldn't put that back on your investors. So I had to pay that bill personally. And just to show, here is if you're watching this on video, I'm holding in my hand right now a nice big chunk of rock that was pulled out of that sewer line. And there were dozens and dozens of these, right? So I have this dumb little, we'll call it a rock, but it's really just hardened floor leveler that had to be broken out of the sewer. I had to keep it in my bookshelf now as a little reminder for me in my office of doing things the right way, right? Because I believe that we solved the problem the right way, but it could have been done better up front. And the bigger lesson here is doing what you're good at and letting other people do what they're good at. Hire the right people at the right times for the right things. This story is a perfect example of sometimes we trip over dollars to pick up pennies, right? And that's exactly what I did here. I tripped over a lot of dollars thinking I was going to save some pennies. So, short episode, but just I want to be real with this podcast. I want people to understand that in building wealth, there are mistakes to be made. There are things that are going to happen. Not everything's going to work out the way you expected. Hopefully, this helps somebody. And then we'll catch you on the next episode.